Let's start with the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramartanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So last week we finished chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. And as I have said, this entire section from chapter 1 to 6 is called as the Prathama Shatkam, the first section of the Bhagavad Gita. And this section focuses mainly on Tvam. Tvam means you. I, the Jiva, I, the soul who is living in this body, the focus is on that indweller in this body. And when we try to understand ourselves, who we are, that aspect is called as Jiva Swarupam. The Bhagavad Gita, which is an essence of the Upanishads, and Upanishads, which are the essence of the Vedas, teach us that the individual soul who is in this body has got two aspects. That means I have got two aspects of mine. One is with gunas, with attributes, which is called as saguna. That means my external body, my mind, my intellect, my sense organs, all together, put together is called as saguna swarupa. I, the Jiva, have another aspect of mine which is called as nirguna. Nirguna means without attributes. And that is called as Atma. That is called as the self. Our entire study of the Gita is to understand the nirgunam aspect of myself, which is called as Atma. Everybody knows the saguna aspect. I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. All of us, we know it. So the Bhagavad Gita need not introduce the saguna aspect to us in detail. But the focus is to understand that I am Atma, the pure awareness principle, the pure consciousness principle. In our study, if at the end of the Gita study, if I have even a glimpse of this Atma, that is a great progress in life. In order to understand this Atma Swarupam, there are certain sadhanas or exercises which are required. Because our mind is not as developed, not purified enough to know the Nirguna Swarupa. The pure consciousness nature of ours is hidden for us today. In order to discover this nature, the Bhagavad Gita explains to us a methodology to purify the mind, and that is called as Karama Yoga. Karma Yoga also includes Upasana Yoga. Karma means action, Yoga means union. Through the union of our actions, we need to discover the Atma, the pure awareness in us. The actual methodology will be explained in chapter 3 and 4 and 5. Atma Vishwasaha or Prayatna is a second quality which is required in us. We should always be confident that we will one day realize this Atma. Doesn't matter how long it takes. And we will put our best effort to understand this nature of ours. The entire 6 chapters, chapter 1 to 6, is described in this chart, what it contains. We have finished the first chapter, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, last week, which described the sorrow of Arjuna in the battlefield in front of Lord Krishna, the teacher. At the end of the first chapter, Arjuna gives up his bow and arrow, and in the 47th verse, he says that he sat, basically the Sanjaya said that Arjuna sat down in the seat of the chariot, casting away his bow and arrow. And his mind was distressed with sorrow. That is how the first chapter ended. Today, now we will start the second chapter. The second chapter is titled Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means Jnanam, knowledge. Sankhya has got different meanings. It has got the meaning of number also. What is the number? Sankhya here means Jnanam. There are 72 verses in this chapter. This chapter is one of the most important chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Why is it important? Because it covers the entire summary of what will be taught in the Gita. So if you understand this chapter well, then what will happen is you will get a complete framework of what we will study during the next 18 chapters. Chapter 2 is called in Sanskrit as Upakrama Sankshepaha. Sankshepa means condensed version. Upakrama means introduction. And Upasamhara, the 18th chapter, is called as Upasamhara Sankshepa. The concluding, Upasamhara means the concluding chapter, and in a nutshell. Sankshepa means in a nutshell, what was taught in the Bhagavad Gita. So chapter 2 and chapter 18 are the two biggest chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. And there are different ways we study the Bhagavad Gita. People come to Bhagavad Gita for two main reasons. One, they want to learn about who am I. There is one group which is purely focused on the knowledge of Atma. For them, there are 5 chapters which are very, very important. Chapter 2 is one of them. Then chapter 7 is another one. Chapter 9 is another one. Then 13, 14, 15. So there are 6 chapters from the Jnanam point of view, from the Atma Tattvam point of view. 6 chapters. I repeat again, chapter 2, chapter 7, chapter 9, chapter 13, 14, 15. Then there are some people who are interested to know how I can develop myself, how can I improve myself, which is called as purely mind development. Through the control of the mind, they want to achieve things in this world. So there is another group which comes into Gita and says, what can I learn to make sure that my quality of living improves? What are the values which I can learn, which if I adopt in my life, how can I improve the quality of life? Nothing to do with Atma, Jnanam and all that. I want to purely improve my quality. Basically, improve the quality of the mind. For them, I will give you the chapter numbers so that initially itself you know where you are focusing, what you will learn and so on. So from the point of view of learning to have a better quality of mind and to absorb the values which are described in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 has got certain section which is called as the Sthira Prajna section. That is a good part, chapter 2. Then chapter 12, chapter 14, chapter 13 and chapter 16. These are the main chapters. These will tell us about what values I can develop in my mind. And then chapter 17 and 18, they tell us about the Sattvic Gunas. So I repeat one more time. Chapter 12, chapter 13, chapter 14, chapter 16, 17 and 18. So these are the 2 sections. Broadly, people come, they try to focus, they try to learn. And then depending on your taste, what you want to learn, you can start looking at how I can pick up things from what we will learn from now onwards. In order to understand our mind, the best chapter is chapter 14. Beautiful chapter to teach us how my mind behaves throughout our life. What are the 3 gunas which affect us and how I am able to control the gunas which affect me. So with that, I will now get straight into the topics of chapter 2. There are 4 main topics in this chapter called Sankhya Yoga. The first section is from verse 1 to 10. We will study each section in detail. The first section is called as Arjuna's Sharanagati. That means the surrender of Arjuna as a disciple to Lord Krishna. Then the second section is called as Jnana Yoga. In this chapter, Jnana is called as Sankhya. This is a special term which has been used by Lord Krishna. So Sankhya Yoga is called as, it is nothing but Jnana Yoga. That's from 11 to 38. Then the third section is Karma Yoga, which is called as Yoga here. In this chapter, Karma Yoga is called as Yoga. And the last section is called as Jivan Mukti, which is called as liberation. If one follows Karma Yoga, gets the Jnanam, how will he live his life? What are the characteristics of a Jnani? How will he talk? How will he walk? How will he lead his life? That is a beautiful section at the end of chapter 2, which is 54 to 72. In my presentation, I'll be taking the first section, Arjuna Saranagati first. Then I will talk about Karama Yoga, which is how we normally progress in life. And then I will talk of Jnana Yoga and then conclude with Mukti. At the end of this chapter, this presentation, I will have an additional presentation of Atma Vidya as another focused study of Atma and a focused study of the discrimination between Atma and Anatma. As this is the main portion of this chapter 2, I wanted to give a little bit more time to study that portion. So that we will take up probably in the next week. If time permits, we'll start today. So the Saranagati means what? Arjuna as a disciple, Arjuna was a warrior in the battlefield. When he came to realize that he has to fight his own grandfather and his guru, he had developed emotional problem, which is called as mamakara, which is called as mine, me and mine, my grandfather, my guru. So in all of us, when our ahankara and mamakara, this I-ness and minus in this body grows, what happens is we are also going to be having sorrow in life. Very important point we should note. This is a quality of the mind. When the mind gets too engrossed in aham and mama, aham means I generally refers to the body. That means I start looking at my body in a much more focused way. Then sorrow starts building up. And through the body only we have connection with the world. That means my daughter, my son, my mother, my father, all these connections come to us only because of our identification that this body is me. This is exactly what happened to Arjuna. So he says in the 5th verse, Guru na hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhekshamapiha loke. Hatvarta kamastu guruni haiva bunjiya bhogan rudirat pratikdan. What does this mean? He says that it may be better for me to beg in this world rather than fight this war and try to kill my own kith and kin. What is the use of having all the kingdom when I will not be able to enjoy the kingdom because I will be thinking of how I got this kingdom? Then he says, Na chaitat vikna kataron nagariyaha yadva jayema yadiva no jayo yuhu yaneva hatva na jijive vishamaha devastitha pramukye dharta rashtra. What he says here is, I don't know what will be better for me. Is it better that I conquer them, or is it better that they conquer me? Because he says, he feels this. He says that there is no point in me fighting this war. I even don't know what will happen at the end of the war. This is what Lord Krishna shows in the 11th chapter. This question of Arjuna is answered by Lord Krishna when he shows the Vishwarupa Darshanam, and there he will say that all these enemies you have will be defeated by Arjuna. He shows, when he shows the Vishwarupa Darshana. So with these two verses, what we gather is that our sorrow in life, samsara, which is called as samsara, darshanam, vision of sorrow in life, is caused by three factors. Raga, which is attachment, shoka, which is sorrow or grief, and then moha. Moha means when sorrow comes, I am totally deluded. So what happens is I collapse completely. My discriminating ability goes away. When this happens, Arjuna says that I am now overpowered and I'm completely confused. And he's asking Lord Krishna and he's asking guidance from him. This verse number 7 is very important. Karpanya dosha pahata swabhavaha prichhami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha yatshreyaha sya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. This is where Arjuna surrenders. He becomes a disciple. From a warrior who was he was in full form to fight the war. He came to the battlefield to fight the war, but because of his nervous mental wreck, he became completely full of sorrow. He was mentally shattered and he was confused. He got he got on his knees and said to Lord Krishna, I am your disciple. You teach me, you tell me what I should do. This is called as Karpanya Bhavaha. Karpanya Bhavaha means helplessness. Helplessness leads to Sharanagati. Sharanagati means surrender to some elderly person or to a guru. Throughout our life, we will come across certain situations when we also will feel helpless. It can be an office situation, it can be a family situation, it can be a relationship problem. At these times, the Bhagavad Gita teaches us, be like Arjuna. Understand that you are helpless and you need guidance. So with this, what happens is, the teaching starts in the 11th verse. Ashochan anya shochastvan prajnavadamsha bhashase gatasuna gatasumsha nanu shochinti panditaha. This is the first verse of the teaching of Lord Krishna. And what does he say in this verse? You have grieved for those who should not be grieved for. That means, Arjuna, you should not be grieving about anybody because you don't have to feel sorrowful. You are speaking as if you are wise man, panditaha. You speak as if you are wise. You give me reasons why you don't want to fight. And then he says, the wise grieve neither for the living nor for the dead. This is a very important verse for understanding who we are and understanding death as an event in our lives. Death as an event in our family, in our society. Wherever death happens, We must understand the philosophy behind the Bhagavad Gita, what it explains to us about our Atma Tattva. This is where the teaching of who we are helps us in understanding what life itself is and what is death. So one of the most important things why people come to Bhagavad Gita also is they want to learn about life and death. And this particular chapter teaches us what death is and what survives death. Shankaracharya starts his commentary, his bhashyam, from this verse of the Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter and the second chapter up to the 10th verse, Shankaracharya does not comment because that's all history. This is where real Gita starts. From here on till the 66th verse of the 18th chapter is the Bhagavad Gita teaching. Generally, we have different types of gurus. Sparsha Guru means one who can touch and cure. Mantra Guru means one who gives you a mantra for chanting depending on your Ishta Devata. Depending on the deity which you like, a guru will tell you chant this mantra as a japa. That is a mantra guru. Diksha Guru means for a brahmacharya, for a brahmachari, he will give a diksha to study in life, to become a swami later. Then a photo guru means this is purely for people to keep at home for inspiration. Somebody will say, okay, keep my photograph and pray every day. That is only purely for inspiration. A lot of people do that. Then you have a live guru. Live guru is one who is teaching. He is the one who is eliminator of the darkness of ignorance from the mind. We all are born with spiritual ignorance. All of us. Right at birth, we are born with this problem. We don't know who we are, and we conduct our whole life thinking that we are the human body. So the teaching is of Karama Yoga and Jnana Yoga. What does Karama Yoga teach us? It teaches us a religious lifestyle by which we have a healthy dependence. We depend on the scriptures. We conduct our samskaras, our rituals. We conduct pujas. Today is Dasera, for example. We conduct the Devi Puja. It starts from today. So we conduct all this pujas, japas, all this. This is what is called as a religious lifestyle. Why do we do this? Because life is a mixture of sukham and dukkham. Our whole life is not completely filled with happiness. Nobody on earth can say that I have lived a very happy life throughout my life. And nobody can say I had had a sorrowful life throughout my life also. So this world which we all are experiencing as human beings is a mixture of sukham and dukkham, happiness and sorrow. And they are not uniform for all of us. For some of them, it is maybe 60% happiness, 40%. For some, maybe 80%, 20%. It all depends on the quality of the mind we have brought into this body, and also the vasanas which we have brought along with us, which is basically the Karana Sharira. Scriptures teach us how to face life and respond intelligently to life's situations. We must accept the helpless situations, as I have said before, and in those circumstances, we need to seek Lord's strength. Some power is there in this world, and that power is where we say that may be unknown to us, that strength may be unknown to us, but it is there. In order to face the uncontrollable situations which are totally unpredictable in life, we need to depend on a higher power. It can be in any form, Devi form, Christ form, Allah form, any form, Buddha form, any form. But every person requires some anchor to depend on. Because our human mind needs strength. In order to avoid anxiety in life for the future because of unpredictable situations, and to accept our helpless situations, we need to make our mind strong. And the Bhagavad Gita tells us there are two methods for doing this, of strengthening our mind. One is Sankalpa Shaktihi. Sankalpa Shaktihi means we give a self-suggestion and auto-suggestion. Auto-suggestion is what? We say, I have a power of God in me. That means there is some power in this body itself. That power will save me. That power, that power will give me the anchor which is required. Then the second form of strengthening the mind is surrender to a Ishta Devata. Ishta Devata means, like I said, it can be a Devi, or it can be Saraswati, it can be Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, any form of a idol, of some Vigraha. And then you surrender to that and try to, what happens in surrender is that you no longer depend on your own mind to take care of the problem, but you take care of an external power, which is the cause of the whole universe. The whole universe is rising and setting every day. There is some power behind it. That power is called as the Ishvara Shakti. What is the goal of all our actions? Bhagavad Gita, in 2 verses, it gives us the gist of all our activity. These are the 2 verses, extremely popular verses. When we conduct workshops for professionals in companies and teach them what Gita can teach a professional working in an organization, whether it be in hospital, whether it be in a law firm, whether you are in any profession. What can Gita teach us? Very practical. The first verse, it says here, that is the verse 48 of the 2nd chapter, beautiful verse. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tektya dhananjaya. Siddha siddha yo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. What we should understand is samatvam yoga uchyate. Evenness of mind is called yoga. How does this evenness come? By abandoning results of actions. By abandoning what I will be getting in my future. Doing duty, performing action in the present will give us the equanimity. Without looking at the past or without looking at the future. When I'm focused on what happened in the past, my energy is gone. When I'm focusing, when I'm looking at the future, again, my energy is drained out. But when I'm focused and I keep my mind calm and then act, that is called as yoga. That is called as the equanimity of action, equanimity of mind while acting. Why do we don't have to focus on the past? The past experiences we cannot change. We don't have to brood or worry about them because we can't change them. We accept the past and move on. We learn the experiences and then forget about the experiences. That's all. We say, okay, fine, I don't have to behave like this in future, and then forget the entire past. What happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, how somebody scolded me, I was very sorrowful. Forget about all that. Because that drains the energy. It is no use. Similarly, the future. What's going to happen? What's going to happen after 5 years? What's going to happen? Who's going to look after my family? Who's going to look after me? What's going to happen to the society? So many things about the future. What Lord Krishna says is samatvam. Focus on your present. Keep the mind undisturbed and act. Accept. How do I keep this? Strengthen the mind by acceptance and devotion. Devotion to some higher power is very important in keeping the mind balanced. The second verse, it says, Buddhi yukto jahati hai ubesakritur dushkrute tasmad yogaya yujjasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. What we have to underline here is, skill in action is yoga. The skill means I act to the best of my ability and put all the efforts and accept whatever comes. Accept the result, whether good, bad, indifferent, whatever result comes, accept it as prasada. So skill in action is yoga. So Karma Yoga means keeping an equanimity of mind and then acting with excellence in action. Now, in order to do this, Lord Krishna gives us a method. And he gives us some steps of how to achieve this in life. He says, Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo. Tatho yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papmavi vashrasi. That means, in all aspects of our life, whether it is pleasure or pain, gain or loss, victory or defeat, pleasure or pain is at the body level, gain and loss at the mind level, emotional level, victory and defeat is at the intellect level. So at the BMI level, you know the BMI chart which I explained to you. So at the body, mind and intellect level, you engage in battle. That means you do your duty. Because duty you must do. And keeping this way, acting with an equanimous mind, then he says, you shall not incur sin. That means you will lead a good life of happiness. And then he says in the 39th verse, how will you drop the bonds of action? How will you cast off the bonds of action, because any action has got result. And how will I get rid of this bondage to action itself? That comes by the jnanam of Atma. Shankaracharya says that the aim of Ashtanga Yoga is for the balance of extrovertedness of the mind. That means to keep that same equanimity. Ultimately, we have to come to this Atma Jnanam to discover our true nature. Ashtanga Yoga cannot give us the knowledge of Atma. The knowledge comes from the scriptural study. Mind should be calm in order for the study to take place. With and without people and action, with action, without action, what Krishna says, Lord Krishna says is, keep the mind calm. And when you, what is the benefit of this Karma Yoga? The benefit is you will not be deluded in life. And then when you're not deluded, you will understand that what is Atma. In order to realize this Atma, we need a purified mind. That's what it says in the 52nd and 53rd verses, that for realization of the self, we need a balanced mind, a pure mind. We have studied in Thathuva the 4 qualifications which are required for jnanam. The first one is viveka, which is discrimination of the real and the unreal. What is the real, which is Atma? What is the unreal, which is the body, mind, and intellect? That discrimination. Then we said, as a seeker, we should have dispassion. That means we should be able to move away from the anatma. Then the disciplines which are required, these are all a revision of Tattva. What are the disciplines? Mind control, sense control. Mind control is called as sama. Sense control is called as dhamma. Then titiksha is a quality of forbearance of undergoing pain in life. There are certain situations, as I said, we cannot escape. So we need to accept and we need to bear those pains. That is called as titiksha. Shraddha is the faith in scriptures, that the scriptures will help me to lead my life and to understand Atma. Uparama is the quality of the mind to withdraw from certain situations, like a tortoise. It withdraws its limbs. We will study that example in the later part of the chapter. So basically, that whenever there are certain situations which are not helpful to me, I should learn to withdraw. The last one is samadhanam, which is the balance of mind, which is what called as equanimity. The last qualification of a person for jnanam. Here we are talking about jnanam means the knowledge of Atma. In order to be a qualified person to receive this knowledge, I should have these 4 main qualities in me. Mumukshutva means the desire to know, the burning desire to know this Atma. Viveka, just to explain to you, is a discrimination between bondage and freedom. I am bound to this body. We must all realize that first. The indweller in this body is bound. I don't know how to get rid of my mind. That is the discrimination I should develop. I know I must try to understand this bondage, that I am not able to come out of this attachment to my mind. Automatically it happens. Then dependence on the body, dependence on external situations. Is there anything other than this? We generally progress from dependence to further dependence, but we should progress from dependence to independence. What we need is, we need a discrimination of Nitya, Anitya Vastu. Nitya means Atma. I must understand this principle called as Atma. Understand what is impermanent. Impermanent is the body, mind, and intellect. Vairagya means not leaning on things or people or situations, which is what is called as over dependence on a particular person in life or a certain situation in life. Over dependence. Any over dependence causes sorrow. That discipline I have explained before also. Discipline is basically the sense organs and the mind, they're all tuned up for the spiritual pursuit. Like musicians, they tune up their instruments. We, like musicians, have to tune up our mind and our sense organs. Through logical thinking, we must tune up the mind and then progress in the spiritual study. Mokshutvam is the desire for the freedom from addictions to situations, to people, to things. And then to realize that this dependence is sorrow and independence is happiness. Once the seeker gains these 4 qualifications, then he is the one who is called as Jnana Yogyata. That means he is Yukta Purusha. He has gained the adhikaritvam, the qualification necessary for the Jnana Yoga. Why I'm stressing, why Lord Krishna is stressing through Karma Yoga the qualifications is that this is a very important step for learning our true nature. A little bit more knowledge about what is action. Action can be of 2 types. One is for material benefit, which is called as Sakama Karma. That means with a view to enjoying material benefits, I do actions. It is required not for fulfillment in life or completeness in life, but it is required for living. For example, I go to office and I work, I get a salary. Now this is called a Sakama Karma. That means it is with a desire to fulfill certain aspects of my living. Then the second one is called as Nishkama Karma. Now Nishkama Karma means it is not with a desire to achieve certain things materially, but it is for Chitta Shuddhi. This will come more in 3rd chapter, in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th chapter. This aspect will be discussed in more detail. But in this, right now, what we should understand is there are 2 types of actions. One where I do for material benefit, the second for the purifying my mind with the ultimate goal of knowing who am I as Atma. The 3 defects of karma I have discussed many times. Any action is a mixture. It's a mixture of dukkham and sukham. There is pain in acquiring things, pain in maintaining things, and pain when the things are lost. So we get happiness when we gain material things, no doubt, but it comes with a mixture of sorrow also. Then the second is atripti karatva, we are never fulfilled. After gaining any amount of money or wealth, anything in life, even educational qualifications, somebody has done 2 PhDs, he wants to have another PhD. So this keeps on growing. Bandhakatva means it creates a bondage. I want more and more of the same thing. Now, these are all the problems of sakama karma. That means when I have desires, I try to fulfill my desires. We must be able to understand that it comes with a mixture. And what is the Nishkama karma? What type of karma or action is called as Nishkama? In the Bhagavad Gita and in the Vedas, the entire selfless activity is divided into 5 portions. We will study this in the 4th and the 5th chapter. They are called as yajnas. Yajnas means actions performed for chitta shuddhi, for purity of mind. The first one is called as Deva Yajna. That means all the visit to temples which we have, the small puja which we do at home, they are called as Deva Yajna. That means an offering to the deities. Pitru Yajna means prostrations to elderly people. I do namaskaras. This is the simplest form of Pitru Yajna. The second very famous one is called as Shraddham. In Indian families, we do Shraddham for departed souls. That comes under Pitru Yajna. Brahma Yajna means the study of Vedas. That means I study Upanishads, I study Bhagavad Gita. This is all a part of Brahma Yajna. Brahma Yajna means it is an offering made to the Creator. Manushya Yajna means social service. I do service by way of yoga. I teach yoga. That is Manushya Yajna. That means it is a social service. I feed poor people. I build houses for them. I build temples. So many things. Anything which is selfless comes under any one of these 5. Any selfless activity will come under broadly these one of the 5 categories. The last one is called as Bhuta Yajna, which is karma which is done towards the society, towards the other bhutas, which means animals, trees, plants. We grow trees. We go puja, that means a puja done for the cow. These are all the yajnas which are prepared. All this we must remember is called as Nishkama karma. It is selfless action. This is what Bhagavad Gita tells us, do more and more of these activities. No doubt we will require sakama karma also. We will require to act in the world in 2-fold ways. One, for material gain. Second, for purity of mind. The purity of mind, when we do actions towards that, gives us tremendous benefit. And we will study more of that in the other chapters, but this chapter tells us, in short, what is Karma Yoga, how to act in life. The 47th verse, very important verse. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturboho mate sangostva karmani. Very, very important verse for one to remember that we have a right to work, but never to the fruits of action. We don't have a right over the result of action. Many of us, we get caught up because we are focused on the result, not so much on the action. This is again one of the best verses to teach us how I should perform action. So far, we have seen Karma Yoga, the section which deals with the development of the purification of our mind. Now we will enter into the Sankhya Yoga portion, which is the main portion of chapter 2. Sankhya Yoga means Jnana Yoga. So the first method of Karma Yoga teaches us how to perform action without focusing on the result of action, how to develop an equanimity of mind, purify our mind, bring down the quantity of our thoughts, improve the quality of our thoughts, get ready for Jnana Yoga so that the pattern of thinking changes. These are the three developments of the human mind: quantity of thoughts, quality of thoughts, and changing the pattern in which we think. Jnana Yoga is the methodology by which I learn something new. I discover something new in me, which will help me in the long course. It teaches me to be self-dependent, and any type of self-dependence is independence. There is some Tvam, there is some principle in this body. That principle is what is my goal to discover. To discover the security in myself for conducting dharma, artha, kama. Dharma means doing duty, artha means earning wealth, kama means to fulfill certain desires I have. We have two natures in us. One is called as the ahamkara, that is called as the lower self. The higher self is called as the sakshi. Till we come to Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or Vedas in general, we are not aware that there is a principle called as Atma, a principle called as Sakshi. We are not aware of it. From birth, we are ignorant. I am born thinking that I am the body. 90% or 95, 99% of the people think that they are the body, they are the mind, they come and go, they come and go. Very few people ask this question, well, who am I? While living in this world, think of the individual indweller in this body. This aspect we are going to study in very big detail in chapter 2 and in chapter 13. Very big detail, we will understand the Atma in us. How to discover this Atma? This discovery consists of two principles. The first principle is that whatever I experience in life, what is experienced is objects. They are inert. This is how the teaching starts for knowing our real nature. I am not the experienced body, experienced mind, experienced world. I am the experiencer consciousness. who is different from whatever I experience. I am the experiencer consciousness, which is different from all the known objects. The body is known. It is seen by the eyes. It is known. The world is known. Forms are known. Sound is known. All these are known. But who is the knower? That knower is called as Atma. Knowing this Atma gives me the peace, security, and happiness. Both the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of the Upanishads, Upanishads themselves teach us that knowing this Atma clearly, distinctly, totally different from the body, mind, and intellect. Once my intellect learns to understand this principle called as Atma, which is not known to me without the knowledge, without the scriptures, then I will be free from sorrow. So the first principle is, I am different than what I experience. I am the consciousness principle. Whatever I experience is anatma. Experiencer is Atma, experienced is Anatma. This is all the details of the Atma Tattvam. The Atma is the subject, the I, the real I. It is Drik. And what is Anatma? It is an object, it is Drishyam. Atma is the seer. Anatma is the seen. Atma is the spiritual principle and Anatma is the material body. So the higher nature is called as Atma. Whereas the 5 elements which constitute the body is the material body, that is called as Anatma. Anatma is the matter principle, the lower nature, whereas Atma is the spiritual principle. The spiritual principle is all known to us. Everybody knows the Atma. Why? Because the Upanishads, they teach us daily in our sleep, we are able to keep the body and mind aside and abide in Chaitanyam, abide in Atma. This is a proof that Atma exists, and it exists in a pure form without the body, without the mind, without the world. This pure Atma is called as the experiencer consciousness. Very important point, we must be able to discriminate. We will be able to discriminate this when we understand that we are the pure self in the state of our sleep state. But in the sleep state, what happens is we are covered. That nature of Atma is covered. That is what is called as ignorance. Therefore, in sleep state, all of us have the feeling, I am totally ignorant about myself, about the world. That ignorant state is called as causal body. That state is called as the Karana Sharira. So, like we remove the spectacles during sleep, similarly, we remove our 2 bodies, like the gross body and the subtle body, we keep it away and we realize our pure nature. This is explained in the Upanishads. This is completely not something new which is coming out. This is explained in detail in Prashna Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, all of them. They tell us how to analyze the sleep state, the waking state, and the dream states. So the first principle is, I am the experiencer, Atma. Body is an object of my experience. This is the first lesson in Jnana Yoga. The attributes belong to the object, never to the subject. This is the second aspect. These are the fundamentals of Jnana Yoga. The more we understand this fundamental clearly, the more we will be able to analyze our own mind, our own experiences, and try to arrive at what the Bhagavad Gita is trying to teach us about ourselves. The attributes belong to the object, like the orange color of a cloth. Suppose you see a yellow cloth, the orange color belongs to the cloth, but not to the experiencer of the cloth. I am the seer of the orange color of the cloth. So the property belongs to the substance. The body is seen by us. All the properties of the body are known to us. The mind, the emotions, they are known to me. Therefore, it is not me. None belong to the I, which is the experiencer. This I is called as Atma, and it is nirgunam. That means it has no attributes at all. Guna means attribute, it is nirguna, and it is called as Chaitanyam. Chaitanya means it is a conscious principle. So who am I? I am a conscious being. I am a spiritual being. That is the take home we should take from the Bhagavad Gita. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the sense organs. I am the power behind these instruments. Like we have electricity behind a bulb, like we have the petrol behind the car running, behind the engine of a car. Similarly, this body and this whole universe has got a power behind. That power is called as Atma, with reference to the body, with reference to the whole world. The same Atma is given a name, Brahman. This is how the teaching takes place. Slowly, the teaching starts in the second chapter. The culmination of this teaching will happen in the 13th chapter. When we do the 13th chapter, the same Atma, Anatma discussions, the discrimination between what is Atma, what is Anatma, we will have the same discussion again in the 13th chapter. To continue, what are the properties of I as Chaitanyam? If I am Chaitanyam, I am free from two things. Number one, I have no location in time, which means I am beyond time. Time cannot, when I say I am beyond time, means what? I am the soul, I am the pure consciousness, awareness principle, which is not affected by time. And does it exist without time? Yes, it exists without time, because that's all our experience. In the sleep state, there is no experience of time. But do I exist or not? Yes. I, the Atma, exist in sleep. The same Atma is also in the waking state, but it is covered because of my focus is on the body and the mind and the world. It is the same Atma, it's just changeless Atma which exists, but that Atma is covered by the Anatma. So the location in time is one point I should understand, that Atma is beyond time. All objects exist in time and they disappear in time. Whenever we experience our body, it is in time. But before body and after the body, there is awareness, there is consciousness. That is what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. There is consciousness, but you may say, I don't experience that consciousness before the birth of the body and after the death of the body. Then the Shastra asks us, do you experience your body in the sleep state? No, we don't experience the body in the sleep state. We don't experience. So are you there or not? Yes, we are there. That is what it says. That is how you should discover the Atma. That I was there as pure spiritual being before the birth of the body. I will be there and after the body is dead and gone. This is what Lord Krishna is teaching us in the verse, in a very famous verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayan bhutva bhavitar va na bhuyah ajo nitya shashvato yam puranaha na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Very, very important verse, one of the most often quoted verse. Whenever we talk about Bhagavad Gita, if you want to learn one verse of the Bhagavad Gita by heart, I will say, please learn this verse. This verse will help you throughout your life. Just remembering just this verse. He is not born, nor does he ever die. After having been, he again ceases not to be. He is not born. He is not born means Atma is not born. Atma never dies. And Atma will never cease to be. He is not killed when the body is killed. Then another beautiful verse is, Dehinos min yatha dehe kaumaram yogvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhiras tatranam khyati. What he says in this verse, beautiful verse, is, just as in this body, the embodied soul passes through youth, childhood, adulthood, old age. All these are conditions of the body, but Atma never changes. That pure consciousness, awareness principle is changeless. Knowing this principle of this changeless Atma, a man does not grieve in life at all. Even if when you look at a person who is suffering, the body is suffering, the body has got cancer, but the Atma is pure soul. This is the very important lesson which is brought out by Lord Krishna in the second chapter. Right in the middle of all deaths, the Lord is trying to teach Arjuna that people don't die. Atma is immortal. You, the Atma, is ever immortal. The people whom you think, your grandfather, your mother, your sister, whatever it is, your relationships, you are looking at them from the body angle. That is a wrong vision. Correct your vision and see everybody as pure consciousness. Then neither will you grieve for the living, neither for the dead. This is a central teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. The two verses here, verse number 20 and verse number 13, are the verses which teach us that the Atma is immortal. Learn to reflect yourself as Atma, pure awareness principle throughout the life, even while listening to the lecture, even while listening to the talks. The realization happens during Sravanam, during listening. I am the power behind my ears, which is listening. That listening power doesn't die. I speak, the power by which I speak never dies. That power is immortal. That is the Atma Tattva. That is the real truth about myself. The whole world also has the same truth. It is the same truth. When I look at it myself, I am the consciousness principle. When I look at the world outside, when I look outside the body in the world, it is called as the existence principle. It is the same principle. I say the world exists. Every object exists. So what is common between all the objects and being is existence. When I use that word, the term called existence, then that is referring to the world. That is called as the Brahma Tattva, the totality of the universe. When I look at it as a body, I can say I'm a conscious being. Going further, any object in time is either cause or effect. This is another principle. See, what happens is, the Bhagavad Gita tells us that you are not born, you don't die. But in order to understand that, we have to use these principles. And try to, with the help of principles only, you can understand the truth. So the next principle we are trying to study is that whenever we are in time, we must understand there is a cause and an effect. Whereas Atma is beyond cause, beyond effect. Which means what? That consciousness awareness principle, which is my real nature, is not affected by either cause or effect. In short, it is not affected by time. It is timeless. If it is timeless, it will also be spaceless. That is the next corollary. That means Atma, the pure awareness in sleep state, has no, I cannot say I am, that Atma is in Singapore or in India or in America or in Brazil or Poland, wherever it is. There is no space for limitation for Atma because it is formless, because it is consciousness principle. It is not jadam, it is not inert. So what it says is, I am free from space and I am not bound by space. This is described in the 24th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. And it says, Achedyoyam adahyohyam akleshodam shoshacha nitya sarvagatasthano achaloyam sanatanaha. The Atma cannot be burnt, it cannot be cut, it cannot be moistened by water, it cannot be dried up by the air, it is eternal. That means the 5 elements cannot touch the Atma. The 5 elements cannot touch pure consciousness awareness principle. If you know this aspect, then you should be very happy. Even if somebody is killed in a plane crash or anything, nothing happens to the Atma. So as Atma, we are eternal. We are immortal. That is what is the teaching here in the 24th verse. I will be combining all these verses which describe from 12 to 30. I will put them in the note at the end so that you can have all of them. You can study one by one all the attributes together. I will do that at the end of the chapter 2. Then body is a temporary medium. It will come and go. How does Lord Krishna explain this? Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinhati naroparani tatho sharirani vihaya jirnani Anyani sanyanti navani dehi. What does it mean? Very well put by Vedavyasa ji. What he's saying is, like you cast off the old clothes and put on new clothes, this indweller, the ahamkara, will drop this body and he will take a new body. The proof that rebirth happens like this is only from the Shastra, is only from the scriptures. Nobody has seen a body go and come back. We cannot see ourselves going and coming back and taking another new body. This is inferred from the scriptures. The proof, that is why we say the proof for the pramanam, the source of knowledge for rebirth, the source of the existence of pure consciousness, Atma, is the scriptures. We just say, yes, the scriptures tell me I am the awareness principle. In my sleep state, I am the pure consciousness principle. I accept it without any doubt. With full confidence, with full shraddha in the scriptures, I accept it. Once you accept it, you will have realized this Atma. If you don't accept the fact, if you keep on questioning, what is the scriptures? Does it have any, why should I believe the scriptures? If you have the doubts, you have to clear the doubts. Remove the doubts through 3 methods, which I will explain later. Okay, so this 22nd verse is the verse which tells us that like we remove our dresses, old dresses, and put on new dresses, we change our bodies. Jatashi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mrityusya cha tasmad pariyararthe natvam shochati marhasi. Another beautiful verse which says, certain is death for the born. That means if you are born, you will die. That means the body. And certain is birth for the death. See beautifully how he brings out the element of rebirth. He says any person who has not known the Atma in life will be reborn. Suppose you die without knowing this Atma principle. This is the proof. This particular verse, it says clearly, the scriptures, this is the essence of the Veda. Veda is teaching us that a person who doesn't know Atma Tattvam will be reborn. Because he doesn't know, he will be reborn again and again till his mind becomes pure. And then he gets a guru, he gets a teaching, and he becomes liberated. So to see this fact that our sorrow is not because of the arrival and departure of the body, but because of our identification of the body as I, this is a fact we must know. How do we understand this? That means today I have the ability to attach or to identify myself as the body, as the mind, as the intellect. This is one identification which is possible. What the Bhagavad Gita is saying is that you have the ability to switch from this identification to a new identification. And what is the new identification? The new identification is I am the Atma. I am the pure consciousness. I am the pure awareness principle, which has got no death, which has got no birth, which is always there, which is eternal, which is beyond time, which is what I am in my sleep state, which is what I am. But in my sleep state, if I don't have I still have the ignorance in the sleep state. So it is not the sleep state per se. In the waking state, I have the knowledge that I am this Atma. Body is mortal, is not a problem. Mind is sorrowful is a problem. Mind is sorrowful and I am attached to the mind is a problem. But once I say the body is sorrowful, mind is sorrowful, that is not a problem. I am Atma, then it changes the entire equation of life. I can, because of the knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita about this Atma, I learn to shift my attention from the body mind to the Atma. Then I can say, I am immortal. This is a fact of life which Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. And if I know this fact, then I will be free from sorrow. Once the body and mind are not taken as my real nature, what happens is, then there is no travel of the body, of the soul to take another body. This comes from the scriptures also. It says the Jiva stops his travel while living itself. If you and I come to know that I am the Atma with full clarity, then right now we are called as Jivan Muktas. There is no more travel. That is what the scriptures teach us. The proof is only the scriptures. What is the methodology of gaining this Atma Jnanam? Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says there are 3 steps. Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. I've quoted the mantra here. It's a long mantra, but if you see the end of the mantra, the underlined portion, the self, my dear Maitreyi, should be realized. Here, a husband is teaching his wife the Atma Tattva. In this Upanishad, Maitreyi is a wife. She is being taught by the husband how to realize this Atma. And the wife is asking a question, how do I realize Atma? The husband says, it should be realized, first you should hear. It should be heard of. That is called as Sravanam. The second is you reflect on it, Mananam. And the third is Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam means meditation. Applying the 2 principles, I, the experiencer, am different from whatever I experience, and I am free from all the experienced properties. This is what I have to see in myself. I am the Atma, I am the pure consciousness, awareness principle, and I am different than the body. I am Purna Atma. Shravanam means listening to the scriptures. And by listening, what do? I apply that teaching to myself. And then I say, Aham Atma Asmi. Nishchayaha. Nishchaya means with firmly. I convince myself that I am this Atma. Manana means reflection. Manana means clearing the doubts. Doubts about what I have heard. With this, what I will do is I'll stop in this particular slide, slide number 20, and I'll continue next week with this slide. We will have more details about what happens to a person when he gets this knowledge. That is the last portion which is left out. So we will continue. What are the 3 steps to gain this knowledge? We have seen Shravanam. We will start with Mananam next week. And then I will conclude next week, chapter 2, by describing the finer aspects of Atma. How to discriminate between Atma and the mind, Atma and the body, Atma and the causal body. So if possible, try to attend the next week class, important lecture. It's a very important section. It's a crux of the entire Gita. And if you can listen and then Because first is listening. Once you listen, then it's easy to reflect on it. Okay, with this we will close for the day, and we'll chant the concluding prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, let me see if there are any questions on the chat. Oh, somebody is asking me to take some rest. Yeah, I had a little bit of cough problem. It's okay. There's a question from Dr. Surinder. The relationship. Oh. The relationship between body, mind and Atma is complicated. Atma is the power and Sakshi witness. But everything what we are doing, the actions are due to the three gunas that are acting automatically as per our innate nature. How to change our gunas or actions from the tamas or rajas to sattvic? Okay. This is a good question, Dr. Surinder. Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Shekhar-ji.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So this question asked by Dr. Surinder is a good question. Actually, what he's saying is the three gunas are acting, and we are all basically we are all acting as per the nature, as per Prakriti. The question here is how to change our gunas from tamas, rajas to sattvic. This is only from tamas to rajas to sattvic. The change happens more when we listen to the scriptures more. As we get the knowledge of the Atma, the sense organs and the actions, organs of action, they reduce their activity because of the knowledge of Atma. Because you see, it happens like this. The more I know about this principle of called as pure consciousness principle, which doesn't act, which doesn't enjoy anything in life, it exists based on that the body is acting. The more I learn by knowledge, what happens is the gunas change. From rajas, it becomes sattvic. So this is the way it changes. Am I clear, Dr. Surinder? Yeah, Shama, you asked a question?
Yeah, namaste. Once again, absolutely brilliant. I don't have to say that now, but just to, the numbering which is coming on your slides is different from what the notes you have sent, which is very useful to actually have it.
Anyway, every week when I send you the videos, I'll send you the notes as well.
Yeah, so that's brilliant because I think it's very helpful to have the notes. Also, just on the same, I just wanted to ask, what is the envisaged number of pages you will have? I'm just thinking ahead because I want to file it in a, one of those wallets which is transparent. So that's what I'm asking.
No, you see, what I would suggest is, Shama, just wait till I finish the entire Gita, because I'm changing the notes as and when before my presentation. I see my notes. I feel like changing some things. I change my notes. Therefore, my suggestion is just wait till there are two things. Either you can wait at the end of the lecture next day when I send you the video, I'll send you the revised version. That is will happen from now on, so that whatever you have heard, you can have the notes immediately.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me how many pages is going to have, and how many, it will be, I think, you see, next week I will tell you what are the notes which are there in the website, and
About
which is the main
pages. 200 pages.
It'll be 2,000 pages.
2,000 pages on Gita alone.
Yes, on Gita alone it will because you see,
that is too less.
You see, if you see my Gita notes in the website, next week I will show you what notes I have it in my screen today. I have it, but I will explain to you what are the different types of notes you will find in the website.
Yeah, it's just only because I've decided to print it out and actually have it in a folder. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, my suggestion is don't take the printouts at this stage till you receive my lecture, and then you take a printout.
Okay, excellent.
Because you see, I do change. I know it causes a lot of problems for people like you, because you read the notes, you prepare the notes yourself, and it's very, very beautiful. What the method you are following is extremely good. But I do change my notes because I find it will be better if I present like this. And I know these ideas come to me as and when I just start looking at what I'm going to speak today, you know.
Okay.
So
more on the subject, you know, in terms of the qualifications, the vairagya, where does the role of tyaga or renunciation come in to develop vairagya? Is it something actively to be done, or it's not necessary?
Yeah, you see, tyaga is it comes in the later chapters. It comes. They describe sattvic tyaga. They describe rajasic tyaga, tamasic tyaga. You see, tyaga is it comes as a part of a value. It's a part of a value system which we need to develop. The tyaga is one of the values. If we develop, we will get vairagya.
Okay, that's why.
Tyaga helps in vairagya, dispassion. For example, suppose, for example, I learn to fast one day, one meal, you know, on a weekly basis. So what happens is my mind slowly understands that it can live without one meal on that particular day. So this is the quality of the mind, to change that mind to how to think differently, and to build the strength of the mind. You do this tyaga.
Yeah. Now I was just wondering whether it naturally happens as a default, because as you develop more jnanam, you realize this anatman for which all our activities are engaged in, it's not necessary, you know, because really you don't need it, you know.
Yes,
so,
you're right.
Apart from just sustaining, it will fall out by itself.
Yeah, it does happen naturally. You're right. As we gain the Atma Jnanam, this dispassion grows.
Right. Thank you. Just one little question, if you allow me to ask, please, because I know there's so many other people waiting. Is the Karma Yoga is to purify the mind, and then it leads to Jnanam. However, it's a bit of a chicken and egg question. Unless you have some Jnanam about Atma and Atma, you don't then do the karma, which is the Nishkama karma, because I need to know that first, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's immaterial which is first. You know, because
that's correct. You see, that is why Lord Krishna, right in the second chapter, right in the beginning, he says, this is your Atma. Okay. You know, he's a brilliant teacher. You know, right in the beginning, he is telling Arjuna, you are Atma. Right in the 11th verse, he is telling you, you think you are wise, but you're not wise. And in the 12th verse, he straight away tells you, you are Atma. And then he tells you, you don't change. And the Jnanam portion he gives right in the beginning with a big bang.
Excellent. Yeah.
And that is why at the end of the chapter 2, I'm going to develop, I'm going to, list out all the qualities of the Atma which they have described from verse 12 to 25. I'm going to take it in a focused manner. When I take it in a focused manner, you will definitely, it will help you to understand this Atma Tattva.
Sorry, and just finally, one very, very last one. The mind is a subtle matter.
Yes.
Yeah. So Sukshma Sharira. So you said it gets influenced by outside environment. Yeah?
Yes. The mind is material.
Why is it not influenced by the Atman itself? The Nirguna state of the Atman. Why is it not influenced by that?
You see, this is the nature of the universe. This is how Lord's nature world is created. So the Lord's, this is the nature, this is how Lord has created this entire universe. Now he is there, the Lord is there, and what he wants to say is, I am there in all the bodies as the Sakshi, as the one which is illumining the mind.
Yeah,
this is why I was illumination. It is only illumination. Yes, but not controlling the mind.
Okay.
Right? The Lord says, I don't control the mind. The mind is controlled by the Jiva himself. It is the Jiva who is responsible for the mind, not me.
Very sad.
Well, that is the way Lord has created the world. We can't help it.
And
he's teaching us this so that we also learn how not to get too involved with the mind and to remain as pure Sakshi.
Fantastic. Thank you.
It is something like reflection of sun in the quality of water actually. If the water is dirt, the reflection will be different.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, I feel very sad.
Okay.
So mind can be controlled by intelligence, right?
Mind can be controlled by intelligence. You're right. So the intelligent is higher power in us. It will teach the mind that don't be so emotional. There is no problems. You learn not to be so emotional. Intellect will teach us. And what is beyond the intellect is this Atma. The intellect is also inert by nature, but it is the power of the Atma which is making this intellect live for a certain number of years in this body. If we take 100 years, it will keep the intellect alive 100 years, as per the prarabdha karma. The moment our karma is over, we will take another body, if we don't know Atma. The moment we come to know I am the Atma, even today we can say I am not the intellect, I am not the body, because that is the power of this knowledge. The power of Gita is extremely strong. And
if prarabdha is over,
yes,
then mind and intellect will get into the another body next, or it will.
You see, if the prarabdha is over for a ajnani, for a person who doesn't know the Atma, it will automatically take another body. That is
with same mind and intellect.
The same mind and intellect will take, along with the sense organs, it will just go into the next body.
Okay, fine.
This is called as a subtle body. The subtle body, consisting of 17 parts, will go along with the Karana Shariram, and then it goes into the new body. That's all. And again, it will start living. From the baby, the moment it becomes an adult, it will start again. The vasanas will fructify. Again, it will start desiring so many things in life. Again, it will go through the sukham and dukkham. And again, if it gets the knowledge, because of the punyam, only you get this knowledge. All of us today are attending this class is because of some prarabdha punyam only.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will not be trying to understand this Atma. Learning the Bhagavad Gita is a great punyam by itself.
Great. Thanks.
I have another question here from Venkatesh. In the advanced chapters of Gunatraya Vibhaga, these aspects are explained in detail. Yes, that's correct. Venkatesh, you have answered correctly. In how the gunas are there, that comes in chapter 14. how we can change the gunas are explained in chapter 14 of the Gita. 90 to 95%, Bharat is asking, you said 90 to 95% all we are born with the ignorance of soul. Why is it so? See, this is, we cannot ask the question why, but this is how the world is. Because we, the question of why we have ignorance of Russian language, we don't know. I don't know Russian, but why? I can't say why. I don't know Japanese, I don't know Korean language, but it is there. It is from beginningless time. So we are all, what the Shastras teach us is that all of us have ignorance as our fundamental disqualification in life. Now, we need to change this. Why the Atma needs to be unexperienced, all we have to go through the rediscovery process. Okay, now this is, again, there is no direct answer to this question, Bharat. The only way I can tell you is, this is what the scriptures tell us, that as individuals we are limited. As individuals we have, this limitation is what Chinmayananda, Swami Chinmayananda says is, this is a manufacturing defect. We are born with a manufacturing defect. Like you have a manufacturing defect in a car or a radio or a TV. Now we have this manufacturing defect, which is called as ignorance. Ignorance about our own nature. Akshay, I have already sent the recording to the group. Are you in the WhatsApp group?
Yes.
So you must have got the recording of the previous session.
Okay, I will do.
Yeah, just see if you have not got it, send me a message. I'll forward it to you again.
Thanks. Yeah, no problem.
Chintan is asking, he's a newcomer into this group. He's asking if Atma is not the body and mind, does it lead to duality, whereas we are talking of non-duality? This is a very, very Vedantic question. It's a technical question. In order to understand the answer, we must understand what is non-dual Atma. And the more we understand the nature of Atma, this question will be answered. See, with reference to Atma, it alone is. That is the basic principle you should understand. It alone is. That is what Chandogya Upanishad teaches us. It tells us Atma alone is. And Atma is the cause of this entire universe. The universe is dependent on the Atma, but Atma is independent. I will dwell more on this in the next week. When I'll be explaining the Atma and Anatma, probably you will be able to understand this better. So just wait for one more week. If you still don't find the answer, I will explain to you again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you said, okay. Okay, I think I have answered most of the questions. Does anybody else have a question to ask at the stage? You can ask me directly on the...
Mr. Shekhar, this is Jacqueline.
Yeah.
One question.
Yeah, Jacqueline?
All along, not all along, we know that, we learn that we are Atma, we are pure consciousness, pure bliss, and pure existence. My question is, and we know that there's a God, a religion or religious with different name, and also then there is this japa. There are a few things that you say, scripture, japa, and go to temple and all this.
Yeah, but, correct. Yeah.
But then we know that we are pure consciousness. We should be self-sufficient in all those matters.
Yes.
How does that work? Because I'm like, okay, as we grow up, we say there's a God, there's a, to help us to that. But then from the learning is supposed to be from within. It's supposed to help us from within, that we know that we have to be a witness to look from there.
Yes.
So then I'm like, oh, so what is what?
Okay. See, we must understand why we are not able to completely be satisfied that we are Atma. The reason you and I, we are not able to focus or even appreciate that there is something called as awareness principle, which is a distinct principle separate from this body. We are not able to appreciate it and convince us that we are that. It is because we have a mind which is bothering us. The problem is the obstacles in the mind. Now, in order to clear the obstacles in the mind, we need to do certain exercises. What the scriptures are telling us is, if you are able to do some certain exercises, either you can just keep on listening to the Atma. What is this Atma? Again and again listen. That itself will purify the mind. There are other people who can do other things also. Suppose you want to just, there are other methods of, because all our minds are not the same. Your mind is different than my mind is different than Venkatesh's mind, somebody else's mind. Each one's mind is very, very different. And for suiting different people, the scriptures, they tell us, you can purify your mind in so many different ways. You can chant a particular name, which is called as japa, like you chant Gayatri Mantra. Or you can visit certain temples, which are religious places. That will help you to calm down your mind. There are certain other things which you can do. You can write notes. I know there are a lot of people who are listening to these talks in other countries. They are just rewriting whatever I'm talking in a transcribed form. Now, these are the different ways in which you can try to quieten the mind. In a quietened mind, what they say is, you listen to the Atma, nature of the Atma, that will be absorbed by you better. So the other practices like Karma Yoga or whatever we are learning new things now, they are all helping us with only one goal, is how to make my mind calm. My mind has to really become calm so that when this knowledge of Atma comes, my mind can pick it up like a sponge picks up the water. It takes the water and it completely sucks the water like a sponge. Now, similarly, my mind should be so ready to accept this knowledge. So that is the reason why they prescribe so many different types of exercises. Yeah, Jacqueline, is it clear?
So it's a different method to reaching.
Yeah, different methods for different people. You need not follow all the methods. You can choose one method which you like, that's all.
And there would be somebody that who was born and instantly being realized, right?
Yes, it's also possible.
If that is the situation, if that was the circumstances, that means this person, he would say that, not he still believes there's a God creator, but he will also believe that his realization, he himself is a God within himself. Everything is happiness and bountiful and blissful.
Yes, that we are going to see next week. What happens to a person who has realized his Atma?
Okay.
So we'll see it next Saturday. We are going to describe we'll be seeing that verses which will tell us, suppose you realize, how will you be?
Yeah, because right now, today we are still saying that, of course we are, because we have temple, we have Muslim, we have Jesus and everybody else,
Yes.
They teach the same thing, and like what you say, if you keep on writing, it will, it actually happened, okay? It actually happened to calm your mind and you are being calm. I experienced that also. So it's
yes.
okay, so if that is the circumstances, a day that I'm, of course, I will respect a day that I'm realized, and I also respect everybody else, you know, you as a teacher, and that was imparted to me, and I'm like, okay, bountiful and blissful, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir,
Anybody? Yeah. Anybody else?
yes, yes. Advaita Vedanta says there is only one Atman. So we
Correct.
are just reflections, means our Atma is just reflection of that.
Yes. Yes. What Advaitam says is that there is only one consciousness awareness principle in the entire universe. And like this, there is one sun, and then suppose you keep 100 buckets of water down on the earth, and then you have water in them, the sun gets reflected in the water. So similarly, our minds are many. There are so many minds, right from an animal to birds to, they all have minds. Now, what happens is that the consciousness gets reflected like the sunlight gets reflected in the water. The mind is the subtlest matter principle, like you have a mirror. Mirror is also a subtle material which can reflect. So our mind is subtler than that. It can reflect the consciousness, and that once it reflects the consciousness, as soon as we get up in the morning, then what happens is the power comes in. It's like the battery power. You know, the energy comes into the battery, and then the whole all actions take place. Murali is asking a question from spiritual parlance. How are we different from animals except for mind and intellect? Because animals also have emotions. Okay, animals don't have a well-developed intellect. Now, they cannot ask the question, who am I? And then learn Atma Tattvam. That is how we are different. We are different because our intellect is far superior than an animal. Far superior. It can reflect, it can think, it can know itself. We are self-aware, and we have the power to ask. That is the difference between human beings and animals. Akshay, did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Anybody else with any other questions? So we will meet next week, next Saturday, and then continue this second chapter. Try not to miss it, because we will be talking about Atma Tattvam, the central portion of the Gita. If you understand the Atma, then till the 13th chapter, you will know our focus is only Atma. Everything else the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us is only to realize this pure consciousness. Okay, thank you.
Om Tat Sat.